Look, we all know the world can be a bit of a dumpster fire sometimes, right? Like, we're constantly bombarded with news about political turmoil, economic anxiety, and enough celebrity scandals to make your head spin. But amidst all that chaos, there are some fundamental human rights that deserve our unwavering attention, and one of the most basic, yet sadly contested, is religious freedom. In 2024, it's frankly embarrassing that we're still having this conversation. But sadly, so for millions of Hindus around the world, openly practicing their faith comes with a hefty price tag of discrimination, persecution, and sometimes even violence. Not cool, world, not cool. So today we're diving deep into the lives of Hindu communities in 10 countries where simply existing as a Hindu can be a radical act. Buckle up, because things are about to get real. Let's kick things off in Pakistan, a nation grappling with its own identity politics where being a Hindu can feel like you're constantly swimming against the tide. We're talking about a community that's shrunk to a fraction of what it once was, folks, and the reasons, well, let's just say they don't exactly paint a pretty picture. Forced conversions, targeted violence, and a legal system that often seems to have one set of rules for some and a completely different set for others. It's a toxic cocktail that's left many Hindus feeling like second-class citizens in their own country. And if you think that's hyperbole, just listen to the stories of those who've been forced to flee their homes, their lives upended simply because of what they believe. It's a stark reminder that religious freedom is a fragile thing, and when it crumbles, it takes entire communities down with it. Next, we head east to Bangladesh, a nation often touted for its vibrant culture and rich history. But beneath that colourful facade lies a more somber reality for many Hindus. We're talking about a place where attacks on temples and forced land grabs are disturbingly commonplace. It's like someone took a beautiful tapestry and started picking at the threads, slowly unravelling the intricate patterns of coexistence that once held it together. And the truly disheartening part? This isn't some ancient history we're dredging up. These incidents are happening right now in 2024, serving as a stark reminder that progress isn't always linear. Now, Afghanistan might conjure up images of political upheaval and conflict, but for the few remaining Hindus there, the reality is one of near invisibility. We're talking about a community so small, so marginalized, that their voices are often lost in the cacophony of larger geopolitical dramas. Imagine living in a country where openly practicing your faith could literally put your life at risk. That's the reality for many Hindus in Afghanistan, where ancient temples crumble under the weight of neglect and fear hangs heavy in the air. It's a stark reminder that sometimes the most insidious forms of persecution thrive in the shadows, hidden from the glare of international scrutiny. Chapter 4: Saudi Arabia, the Walls of Tradition. Let's be honest, when we talk about religious freedom, Saudi Arabia isn't exactly the first place that springs to mind. And for Hindus, well, let's just say it's not exactly a welcoming environment. We're talking about a nation where the very concept of religious pluralism can feel like a foreign language. Now, I understand that Saudi Arabia has its own deep-rooted religious identity, but that shouldn't come at the expense of basic human rights for others. It's 2024, folks, not the Middle Ages. Surely we can find a way to respect tradition without trampling on the freedom of conscience. Chapter 5: Malaysia, a freedom scorecard stain. Okay, time to talk about Malaysia, a country often held up as a model of Southeast Asian progress, but scratch beneath the surface and you'll find a different story when it comes to religious freedom. We're talking about a place where international watchdogs have consistently raised red flags citing discriminatory policies and a general lack of protection for religious minorities. And it's not just some abstract concept, you know. These rankings translate into real-life consequences for Malaysian Hindus, who often find themselves navigating a complex web of legal hurdles and societal pressures just to practice their faith. Chapter 6: Indonesia, Paradise Lost? Indonesia, the land of 1,000 islands, a tapestry of cultures and religions, or so the tourist brochures would have you believe. But for many Hindus, the reality is far less idyllic. We're talking about a place where discrimination and violence against religious minorities, including Hindus, continue to cast a long shadow. And it's not just about isolated incidents, folks. It's about a systemic issue deeply ingrained in certain segments of society. It's about the casual bigotry, the everyday prejudice that can make life a living hell for those who dare to be different. The Maldives, those picture-perfect islands with turquoise waters and pristine beaches, sounds like paradise, right? Well, not if you're Hindu. We're talking about a nation where the very act of practicing Hinduism is, get this, illegal. That's right, folks, you can't even build a temple there. They've literally outlawed an entire religion. And if you think that's bad, try being a Maldivian citizen who converts to Hinduism. Let's just say the government doesn't exactly roll out the welcome mat. Chapter 8, Bhutan, the Dragon's Shadow. Bhutan, the land of gross national happiness, where they measure their progress in smiles, unless you're Hindu, it seems. Now, on the surface, Bhutan might seem like a beacon of peace and tranquility, but for many Hindus, it's a different story altogether. We're talking about a place where discrimination is often subtle, insidious, woven into the very fabric of society. And the voices we hear, the hushed whispers of fear, the stories of families forced to choose between their faith and their homeland. It's a stark reminder that sometimes the most oppressive regimes are the ones that wrap themselves in a cloak of benevolence. Chapter 9. Sri Lanka, Scars of Division. Sri Lanka, an island nation still healing from the wounds of a brutal civil war. But amidst the calls for reconciliation, the struggle for religious harmony continues, particularly for the Hindu Tamil community. We're talking about a community that's borne the brunt of decades of conflict, facing discrimination and violence at the hands of both state and non-state actors. It's a vicious cycle, really, where historical grievances fuel present-day tensions, making it all the more difficult to build bridges of understanding. Chapter 10, Myanmar, a Rohingya Echo. And finally we come to Myanmar, a nation grappling with the ghosts of genocide. While the plight of the Rohingya Muslims has rightfully captured global attention, it's crucial to remember that they're not the only ones facing persecution. Hindus too have been targeted, their temples destroyed, their communities displaced. It's a stark reminder that intolerance, like a virus, can mutate and spread, targeting one group after another. It's a chilling thought, isn't it, that the lessons of history so often go unheeded, that the cries of the oppressed are so easily drowned out by the din of indifference. Outro. A call to action, our shared humanity. So there you have it, a glimpse into the lives of Hindus in 10 countries where religious freedom isn't a guarantee, but a privilege often denied. It's a sobering thought, isn't it? That in 2024, the simple act of practicing one's faith can still be an act of defiance, even danger. But this isn't just about Hindus, is it? It's about all of us. Because when one group's right to religious freedom is threatened, ultimately we're all diminished. So what can we do about it? Well, for starters, we can't let apathy win. Stay informed, speak out against injustice, and support organizations fighting for religious freedom around the world. Remember, indifference is a luxury we can ill afford. The fight for religious freedom is a fight for human dignity, a fight for a world where everyone, regardless of their faith, can live with their heads held high. And that's a fight worth fighting, wouldn't you agree? This has been researched using AI and just shows why Hindus have to unite. Prepared by architect Muguntha for My Hindu Community to have a clearer understanding of what's happening around the world to Hindus.